I wasn't planning on saying anything, but luxury kind of struck something to me when they said if it was your New Year's goal or intention to speak in front of people, then you should do it, and that was, and it is, so here I am. And I'm coming around with some things that I've been thinking about. Luxury. I represent luxury. And of course you're saying, well, that's obvious. Look at how he's dressed. Most of my clothes come firsthand from the secondhand store, and the rest of them that I bought new, the secondhand store won't take back when I'm finished with them, because I wear them out completely. And that's how I was taught to take things and use them to the full maximum appreciation. I grew up in a very distinctly Canadian way, and I think that's how I represent luxury in a distinctly Canadian way. And not the kind of Canadian that you think of as a Torontonian. We're all Torontonians now. You live here, probably. But in the sense of Canadian as it's portrayed, in the rural aspect where the snow actually does fall in a way that closes the roads for 3 days, and people can't go anywhere and they just eat whatever they've grown. And that's where I grew up, in a small town beside a small town, beside a hamlet actually of 50 people, which is on a farm beside a hamlet, beside the town of the farm of 10 people, because I have a large Mennonite, large family. You can tell from my beard, it's real. Again, the lap of luxury. So in this way that I grew up is very grassroots orientation. My parents are they didn't know that they were hippies, but they are, and they were organic farmers, but not because organic farming was cool in the 80s, but because chemicals are fucking expensive, and why would you buy them if you don't have to? We can farm without them. And my dad didn't realize that the products that he was creating were actually very desirable and marketable. He's just like, I don't know, we just sell them. He's like, well, we can take those to Toronto, and we have the most expensive eggs in the city. And after I moved here and realized this, he's like, sure, or not, okay. And so my perspective of life is rooted in this. And when I moved to the city, I had all of these things that I was experiencing and seeing. And my brother was working for a company at the time, and the company was based in a small town beside, well, the hamlet, small town. Ice Culture is the name of the company. And in a town of 900 people that's otherwise known for the white bean, there's a company that's world-renowned, this company, for creating things with frozen water. Ice Culture, they make things with ice. And when I was going to school and being busy in the city, and my brother's working for this company because my cousin works because two of my cousins and my neighbor work for the company, and they're often in the city, and my brother said, you should help out. There's always things going on, and there's always some crazy stuff, and you'd probably get a good kick out of it. So I started lifting things, frozen things, mostly heavy, often awkward, usually fragile, always, and putting them on places for people to look at, because that's what you do with well-crafted things of frozen water at some of the most luxurious places in the city. And I didn't realize that these places existed. My mentality, my perspective was so different growing up in rural Ontario, the true Canadian experience. There's these different levels of luxury that I didn't realize that, like in a home, for example, we would do a private function and we would take an ice sculpture. And my idea of a nice home is one that you would go into and you take your boots off at the door and you walk inside with your socks because that's respectful. But I realized that there's another level of luxury above that where you leave your shoes on and you walk right in there. And they've got people, and they clean up behind you, they mop up whatever mess you make, and the posture that you do it with, and the sense that you have as you're going about it, creates your authority. And if you are meant to be there, and you look like you're meant to be there, then you are there. And this new sense of luxury becomes available to me, where I can do whatever I want. I've been given this lease on all of the hottest hotels and the best venues and the super clubs. I know people by a name, maybe sometimes, and I could go there and I could probably just sneak in the back door and pretend like I belonged there. But I had a sense of ownership to it. And through my years working with ice sculptures, ice cultures, ice sculptures, I didn't create the name. It was given. I just have to repeat it. I learned some of these things, and I moved in my ranks of positions, and I started hiring my friends. It's like, hey man, let's go set up some ice sculptures. It's fun. We'll drive a big white van around the city, and we'll go to Ted Rogers' house, and we'll leave our shoes on, and we're gonna go inside, and we're gonna that kid is turning 16 now. Congratulations, Ted Rogers' daughter Chloe is 16. We're gonna give her an ice bar for her birthday, and we'll do that. We'll go to the Carlu, one of the fanciest, most luxurious venue that people have weddings and stuff at, and it's their anniversary. So we're gonna hang fish from the ceiling in ice sculptures, because that is the most luxurious thing that you can do. Maybe you saw it on Reddit. I'm just saying, it's something. Maybe one of them got left over, got dropped off in my friend's front yard, not a big deal. But it's fun stuff like that. And then moving up through the ranks and working for this ice sculpture company, and it's 5 years later, and they come to me and say, you know what, you've been doing a good job of setting stuff up, you've got a good rapport with the clients, why don't you take on a sales role, and you can work from home, and you can sell ice sculptures. And I said, sounds right. That's what I meant to do. That is my calling in life. What am I doing anyway? Let's do that. And now I represent luxury. I can sell ice sculptures to people who never before had them, but probably don't really need them. But maybe they do, because I could help them if they do. But if it's better for me, so ice sculptures is what we do, and different things, different times. It's stuff hanging from the ceiling. It's an ice bar. It's a drink luge, and we're gonna have a party. It's gonna be fun. You pour the booze in the top, it comes out the bottom. Maybe we're gonna carve a bunch of penguins and set them up in Commerce Court to celebrate the inauguration of a new credit card. That's very exciting stuff. And so when that client specifically calls me back the second time, because they spent the money, they come to me with this idea, and it was the perfect one for me specifically, knowing my background and my context. And they said, we've got a client that's a marketing company, and our client is a Canadian retailer, Canadian Tire, don't tell anyone, and they want to do something really cool with ice, and this is my opportunity to shine. I'm like, just let me finish hacking this dart bud, and I'll give you a minute to talk about it. I know that flyer back and forth. We're going to have a good time with this one. Okay, give it to me. What do they want to do? And they come to me and they say, well, we're going to take a pickup truck and we're going to put it in a block of ice. And I said, that's a stupid idea. That's awfully dumb, and it won't work. There's a million reasons that won't work. But I'm going to tell you that's a good idea so that I can get an opportunity to talk with you more about it, and then eventually try to spin you around on a better idea that is my own. And so I said, awesome idea, let's do that, maybe. And so we started talking about it, and obviously the mechanics of making an ice sculpture inside of a block of ice that's really big is super heavy, and it's going to ruin the pickup truck. And their idea is to sell a car battery that doesn't connect at all. And I said, why don't we make a carved pickup truck out of ice, maybe, and then we can feature the car battery for this Canadian retailer, Canadian Tire, don't tell anybody, and we'll put it in the side of it, and we'll have this beautiful picture of a carved pickup truck. And they're like, oh yeah, that's okay. And I said, well, wait a minute, what if we who's your target demographic? And they're like, well, it's pretty much you. You grew up in the middle of nowhere and you don't know anything except pickup trucks. And I said, you're right. And so let's make a pickup truck out of ice, but let's take it one step farther. What if we would have an engine and a transmission and a modified steering column and put it on top of wheels and make it look like a real pickup truck? And in fact, what if we could take it one step further and make it a real pickup truck, and that someone could jump into it and turn the key and start it up and then drive it? And the guy I was sitting beside was a special effects company, and he does a lot of commercials and TV sets for like Big Brother and cool stuff. I was like, what do you think of that? And he's like, well, I don't know, be careful, man, because you might actually have to make this. And then they liked it, and then they said, let's do it. After a lot of conversation, and then they said, let's do it in 6 weeks. And I said, that's shit. Okay, we'll do it. So that was about 8 weeks ago. And it goes through this whole process, and I call up my brother-in-law, who's a mechanic. I was like, bud, we got a deal here. This is going to be a good one. Finally, the people that I can connect with, the people that I know, this like back home buds, brother-in-law, you're a mechanic. Can you make me a pickup truck out of ice? He's like, I don't know anything but ice. He's like, don't worry, I got that one. Can you help me with the mechanical side of things? He's like, yeah, I got that. Okay, no problem. And we found a manufacturing company, and we put it all together. This frame, this truck, we built the ice part of it. And then we built like a truck on top of it, and they brought in the stunt driver and a film crew, and we started it, and it worked, and they made this little mini documentary, and then we did a commercial shoot, and they brought in cranes, and there's people, and when you do commercials, they have a whole trailer just dedicated to making food for people. It's cold, but it doesn't matter because you go inside there, it's smoky. It doesn't matter because there's as many burritos as you want, and they're just on demand. They're rolling them out. They're giving them to you fresh. It's fantastic. Hot chili. You want some sour keys? They got them in jars up there. You just go help yourself. The lap of luxury. And what I realized is that you can do things when you own it, and you take an idea and you make it. And then we built this pickup truck that was made of ice, and Canadian Tire made a commercial with it. And now it's a thing. It's happened and it's done. And it was a whole very exciting project that I got to be a part of because I guess that's luxurious, but not because I care about luxury, just that I represent it. And I think that that's pretty incredible. So I was always struggling with how to end this story. But and that brings me to now, but I didn't really have that solved. But I think there's time to just draw this correlation between water in Rwanda, frozen water in Canada, and what luxury means to people. I think we all represent luxury, and what it is to you is what it is to you, and what it is to me is the end of my story. Thanks.